But for me, it was probably the first thing that I was naturally inclined to do that I remember. And I know that in the second and third grade, I started collecting rocks and fossils. And, your kids, you're running through the gravel driveways that we had in the South, and you're looking for fossils and arrowheads and things like that. So I had a rock collection, and then I started collecting key rings. I don't know, they seemed more prevalent at the time, but I started collecting key rings. And so I still have both those collections. I have a collection of key rings and I have a collection of rocks that I started in the second and third grade. And I collected those, into high school, and always had, the inclination to do that. And then it probably stopped, in college when you're busy and you're studying. And so I wasn't necessarily building collections at that time, but that's kind of when I pivoted into kind of vintage and antiques, was kind of in college. My cousin and I were rooming together, and we went to an antique store in Mississippi, and I picked up, I remember, a salt and pepper shaker that was vintage, and I still have them. But I also always had this thing where I took care of everything that I had. Like, I still have my Matchbox cars that are like brand new. Like, I would never play with them in the dirt. So I always had this thing where I really took care of the things that I had as well. So I have a tendency to accumulate. But yeah, I definitely had I think it's kind of a genetic inclination to collect and accumulate. And I think my grandmother on my mom's side is where I got that from. My mother doesn't really have that inclination, nor my dad, but my grandmother does. So I think there's kind of a genetic component to that.